Welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast, where we discuss all things empowering, encouraging and inspiring. My name is Yvonne Ellis. I'm an empowerment speaker, author, coach, trainer and founder of Yumi Empowerment, a company that facilitates the empowerment of people. I help people to make positive life change, live in their purpose and develop into their best version of self. I share stories, interviews, spiritual encouragement and actionable tips to empower, encourage and inspire you to live the life you want. So if you want to live the empowered life, join me each week on my podcast so we can take the journey together. Hello, empowered lifers. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast. My name is Yvonne and I am the host of Living the Empowered Life podcast. This podcast is about all things empowering, encouraging and inspiring. It's all to do with personal development, self-improvement and all that good stuff. If it's your first time listening here, I welcome you. If it's your first episode, and to my continued listeners, well guys, you are the real ride or die people, because I haven't been faithful in doing these episodes at all over the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to talk about that more in this episode. But I do thank my continued listeners, because without them, I wouldn't feel encouraged to do the podcast. So if you're one of them, I want to thank you for your support as always. And if you haven't subscribed to this podcast or hit the follow button, please do so on Apple Podcasts and also Spotify Podcasts. Also as well, you can catch episodes of this podcast on Living the Empowered Life YouTube channel. Over there I do book reviews and other things as well. And also if you want to follow me on any of the platforms I'm on when I go out and about and do things of interest, you can do that as well. It's Yumi Empowerment, YEME_empowerment. On Instagram, TikTok, it's Yumi Empowerment 22. And it's the same for Facebook and also Twitter. But I'm not really on Twitter a lot, but I am active on some of the other platforms. But anyway, you can catch these episodes bi-weekly by hitting the follow or subscribe button, as I said, on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify podcasts as well. Well, guys, my life has been absolutely incredibly busy. I'm in the season of busyness right now in my life, with my consultancy work and other things that I am doing. And, you know, I have kind of fallen off track. I have kind of fallen off in so many different areas of my life. And for me, as somebody who is quite consistent and focused with the things that I've been doing, you know, for a very long time, it has been quite, discouraging for me. But I remember in all of it that I'm human. And today I want to talk to you about some of the things I've fallen off track with and share with you how I'm getting back on track, and also as well just practical steps to get back on track, because, you know, life happens, things happen, we have the best laid plans when we want to do things, but sometimes other things come up and they have to be the priority. So I want to talk to you about getting back on track today. But before I do that, I want to share with you a few quotes about getting back on track. So the first quote I want to share with you says, "Don't beat yourself up, just get back on track." It doesn't really say what website it's from or who did this quote, but it is from a weight kind of diet website. I think that is a brilliant piece of advice. What can you do if you beat yourself up? Nothing. All it will do is just add more kind of guilt to why you haven't, consistently done things. So I think that is a good quote. The next quote I want to share with you, and I saw this quote on Pinterest. It says, "Don't look back unless it is to see how far you've come." Perfect quote. Only look back to see how far you've come. I absolutely agree with that. And I think it was last year, July, I did a short video when I went back down to Croydon for the first time in 14 years. And I was just reminded of that, because this quote reminded me of going back to somewhere I absolutely disliked. And coming away from that place after not being back there for 14 years with a totally different perspective on going back. It really did encourage me. It really kind of helped me to see how far I had come, and it was a really enlightening experience to go back. And the last quote I want to share with you is by Les Brown. He says, "When life knocks you down, try to land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up." I really like that quote. So for those of you who don't know, Les Brown is quite a huge figure in the personal development field. I read his book many years ago. It's still on my bookshelf. I think that is just a really good and encouraging quote for anybody who feels knocked down by life. So guys, as I said, this episode 114, is about setbacks to getting back on track. As I just briefly mentioned, I have fallen off track with quite a few things in my life. And for me, it's been quite disorientating and at times discouraging, because I'm somebody who prides myself on being organised and being focused and knowing what I'm supposed to be doing and when. And lately, that has not been the case for quite a few reasons. I have been awarded a great contract, something in the field of something I've never done before, and that has taken up a lot of my time. And that has had a knock-on effect on absolutely everything. Guys, if I was to show you a picture of my diary, and I think I might just post a short video of my diary, because absolutely every single day is chock-a-block from morning to night. I work some weeks 6 days a week. I didn't do that this weekend because I just needed to give my brain a break from reading and thinking and stuff. I, work quite long hours. It's been like this for a little while now, and I'm not saying all this to complain, but in being given contracts and work to do and having to see all that through, it does have a knock-on in other things, and it's caused me to kind of have to reprioritize some things. For example, this podcast, as you guys know, up until probably about 5 months ago, I have been pretty consistent with the podcast since 2020, November 2020, when I started. I've only ever had one short break, which was like last year. But every other week I upload these episodes of the podcast. But over the last, as I said, 3-4 months, I've been uploading probably once a month. And for that, guys, I can only apologise. I have all the best laid plans when it comes to doing the bi-weekly episode, but then something would come up and I would have to prioritise that. But I want you guys to know that the podcast is very much still going on. It is still, something I'm very passionate about. And if you do see that I haven't done a bi-weekly episode, know that I am in the process of doing an episode. I'm not chucking it in or giving it a break or anything like that. It's just that things in my life are very, very busy. So I've mentioned about this contract, which is a huge learning curve, and so much to do with that I am having to do, which I'm enjoying and finding challenging at the same time, which is a good place to be, I think. Also, there are some days I haven't been even hitting my steps. The minimum steps I've been doing on those days has been about 8,000 steps. I'm used to doing 10,000, 12,000 steps a day. Over the last couple of weeks, that's kind of fallen off. Some days I haven't been able to consistently get up to do my 5:30 prayer time with the Lord. For me, that is a big thing for me, because my prayer time and quiet time in the morning is where I have my peace. I get my kind of focus for the day. I get my inspiration, ideas, through the Holy Spirit. And I haven't even been consistently doing that. It's been on, off. And also as well with content creation, varied content creation. Literally, I can trace back through my feeds on some things and see how many different kind of variation of content I was putting out. And because of time and everything, the most I've been able to do in some cases is short videos, for TikTok, for Instagram and stuff like that. So there's been many different areas in my life that I have kind of fallen off track. But even though I've fallen off track in different things lately, here's what I'm not doing: beating myself up about it. I'm not beating myself up about it. As I mentioned, I felt a bit disillusioned, a bit discouraged, but that's where it stops. I'm not going to let the fact that I'm off track send me on a downward spiral of feeling bad about myself or beating myself up. I have a very different outlook on my kind of setbacks. One of them being that this is just a season in my life that is like this. You know, we all go through different seasons in our life where things happen and we have to adjust. That is the mindset I am choosing to look at this season, where I've been having setbacks in different things like this. That it's just a season of my life where it is like this. I think the way that we think about things will affect how we then go forward and try and do different things. So I want to just share with you some things that I am doing to get myself back on track. And if you're somebody who is listening to this podcast and you are finding that you are just off track with things in your life, it could be one thing or various things, I hope that this episode does encourage you, because life happens, guys. And even those of us who have very well laid plans and goals and lists and things to help us to kind of make the most of our time, to complete things and all that stuff, even those of us who are like that have those times where things are off track. And it's all about recovering from those setbacks and getting back on track. So now let's get practical. How do we get back on track after a setback? One of the things that I am doing is to start small. And by that I mean that, as I mentioned, the bi-weekly episodes are a bit up in the air at the moment because of this season in my life. So the small step that I'm doing in starting small again is one episode a month. I can commit to that, definitely. The goal is always to go back to bi-weekly episodes. And if I do more than one episode a month, then I know that I'm well ahead. That is helping me to kind of start back small with consistency and to go forward. If you're somebody who is, trying to get back on track, I would encourage you to start small. Don't pressure yourself to climb the whole mountain in one day. Just take one step. If you've been off track with exercise, maybe today just do a 10-minute walk. If you stop writing or creating, maybe today it's just about jotting down a few ideas. Whatever the thing is that you are trying to get back on track with, start small. And when you start small and you do it consistently, it will start to create momentum. I want to say to you, every step forward, no matter how small, moves you and me towards our goals. The next thing I want to share with you is to revisit your why. Ask yourself, why did I start this in the first place? When you reconnect with your original purpose, your motivation comes back to life. So, for example, my why in starting the Living the Empowered Life podcast is that I wanted to empower, encourage and motivate women over 40 to live an empowered life, to go after their goals and dreams, to find solutions to go around particular problems, to feel encouraged that, they can still go after the things that they want at this point in life. For me, that is my why. And even though my focus has been a bit off because of other commitments, that why is the thing that keeps me passionate about the podcast. Even when numbers have been low in listeners, even though, I'm still on that road, even 114 episodes in, the passion and my why for why I'm doing this podcast keeps me going. And that is what you need to think about. You need to revisit the why of why you started doing things in the first place. When you connect with your original purpose, as I said, your motivation will come back to life. My motivation after sitting down here today to do this podcast, to do this episode, has been revigorated because I'm back in my chair doing what I love, and you need to get back in tune with the things that you love. The next thing I want to share with you is to reset your routine. One of the things I am doing is to reset my routine. I had got myself into a habit of, not consistently following my routine and just doing it as and when. So, for example, I'm usually up by 5:30, prayer time. Then it's time to jump on my walking pad and do an hour of exercise, get washed, get dressed. And then I'm in my home office ready for work, if I'm not having to go out to meetings or anything like that, by 8:30, 8:45. There were some days I was getting up at 6, some days I was getting up at 7. There were days I would get up and not come in and do my prayer time, and then might go and do exercise or whatever it is, but I was not doing my routine in the way that I usually would do it. So I had to start to reset my routine. And how I started to do that is by doing one thing at a time consistently. And it's still a work in progress, building back my routine to where it was like 6 months ago or so. It's all about those little building blocks and figuring out, what was working before that isn't quite working in my life now. And maybe that is where you're at. Maybe you need to reset your routine. Maybe you need to work out what worked before but doesn't fit into your life now. I would encourage you to write down, your routine, what things are working, what things are not. And it's totally okay if some things don't fit into your life anymore. As I said, we go through different seasons in our life where some seasons might be quieter, some might be busier. It's absolutely okay. There's no point beating yourself up about, how your routine used to be. I would say to you to create simple, realistic habits that you can stick with, even if it's only one thing to begin with, as I mentioned, and then you can use the other things to build upon that. So, sometimes getting back on track isn't about doing more. It's really just about doing what is sustainable. So I've got 2 more points to share with you. The first one is to find accountability. Share your goals with a trusted friend, a coach, or even write them in a journal. I am writing my things in a journal. I have been journaling for a number of years, kind of falling off track with that as well, trying to get back on track and holding myself accountable. Accountability helps you to stay focused when your motivation fades. I think that is something that could help you, whichever one that you choose, a coach, a friend, a journal. For those of you who don't know, I'm an empowerment coach, certified empowerment coach. I help women over 40 to plan their life goals, to look at their goals, encourage them and empower them, to help them to do the things that they want to do in their life, and to look at things that may be blocking them as well. This is not therapy, it's empowerment coaching. However, therapy is a good thing to have, to do, if you are stuck with certain things in your life. So I kind of went off on a little bit of a tandem there, but basically, accountability in whichever form that you choose will definitely help you to get back on track. And the last thing is to celebrate the small wins. As you have listened to other episodes of my podcast, for those of you who have been with me from the beginning, you know that I am big on celebrating small wins, celebrating achievements, celebrating milestones, all that stuff. I think self-celebration is an important thing that will help you to be motivated to stay on track. Don't wait until you arrive, to feel proud. Celebrate even the small step forward, or the small steps forward, I should say. The little wins are what are going to build your confidence and momentum. So celebrate those little steps forward as well, guys. Not always about celebrating the big wins. I did a video last week, I think, about this, talking about celebrating daily steps. I think it is so important. We have to all celebrate those little moments in life. They will encourage each and every one of us to stay on track. You have to tell yourself that you are stronger than your struggles, and that this season that you find yourself in, where you are struggling to stay on track, is preparing you for something greater. And as I say that to you, I say that to myself as well. This season of really challenging things, busyness and everything else, is preparing me for something I believe that God has in store for me. And, I'm just to focus and do the things that I need to do to stay on track and just keep going. Now, I want to leave you with some encouragement. If you're listening to this right now, I want you to know that you're stronger than you think. You have come through hard things before, and you can come through this too. If you think back to maybe earlier times in your life, I'm sure that you may have had some times where you felt that you were definitely off track, whether that is with your, career or, kind of your relationship aspirations, whatever it is, If you take some time to think back, I'm sure you'll find at least one example in your life where, you've fallen off track. And, you've come through that, and you will come through this too. That's what I want to say to you today. Your comeback will always be stronger than your setback, because you are rising with wisdom, more resilience, and more clarity than you did before. I want you to visualize your future self, the one that kept going, who didn't give up. Imagine that version of you looking back and saying, thank you for not quitting. Thank you for choosing to rise again. You are not behind. Remember, you're not behind, and you're not too late. And you certainly are not disqualified for the things that you have fallen off track with. You're right on time to begin again. And I want to say that to you because I know how hard it is, as I've mentioned in this episode, when you have fallen off track, and how disillusionment and discouragement can creep in. It's all about not beating yourself up and finding a way to go forward, whether it is in small steps, all the things that I've talked about in this episode. We can all get back on track. And obviously, I'm going to keep you updated on my journey of trying to get back on track. This episode for me has been really helpful, just to get it out there that I have fallen off track with some things in my life, because no one's perfect. And even though I am the host of Living the Empowered Life, and I am a leader and I lead by example and stuff, and I share, lots of highs with my audience, I do feel it's important to share with you the struggles, the lows, because that is part of living the empowered life. No one goes through living the empowered life where everything is perfect and everything's on track and everything's always positive. The whole point of living the empowered life is, even through the struggles, the challenges and the setbacks, that we find a way to work through them, going forward thinking, being positive, and just taking things as they come and trying to do things in small steps. So remember, you are starting from experience and you're not starting from zero, even though you've gone off track like myself. And remember, your comeback will be stronger than your setback. And again, as I say it to you, I say it to myself. So the Bible scripture I want to share with you today comes from the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28. And it says, and we know that all things God works together for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Whether you have given your life to Christ or not, God has a purpose for each and every one of our lives. And he works them out for his purpose and for his will. If you have not known Christ as your Lord and Saviour, I would encourage you to ask him into your heart and life, and he will meet you at your point of need. You don't have to come perfect. You can come as you are. But when you have Christ in your life, he will work out all things for your good. And you know what? Even when you don't know Christ, he's working in the background to work things out. But what becomes clear when you know Christ is that you will see his hand in everything. So on that note, I want to thank you for joining me today on Living the Empowered Life, episode 114. If this episode encouraged you, please do share it with a friend who might need a little hope. And remember, your story is still being written and the best chapters are yet to come. You've got this. Until next time, stay encouraged, stay empowered, and keep moving towards living the empowered life.